All right, the data is clear when it comes to the more common forms of anxiety and depression, the kind that most people suffer from or that we see that is growing. The things you can do naturally that will have significant impacts, according to data: exercise, get better sleep, have good relationships, pray or meditate, have a better diet. Those have significant impacts. They make you feel a lot better. Now, why? Why do those work so well? Well, it's not because it's like medicine where you have to give yourself something to feel better. It's because literally lacking those things causes anxiety and depression. In other words, you're not lacking an SSRI. You're not lacking a benzo. You're lacking the things that I mentioned. So look at yourself. Do you feel anxious? Do you feel depressed? Do you feel sad? Maybe you need to look at your life and include the things that you were born to have in your life. That's why they make such a big impact.
Any idea on the ranking or order of those?
Connections
is number one.
Yeah, connections, having good relationships. Prayer is remarkably powerful for anxiety and depression.
Number two?
I don't know. I didn't rank them.
Sleep, number two.
I didn't rank them, but I did.
Exercise has got to be up there with the top.
You know, here's the thing. Which one's going to be the most powerful for you is the one that you're
most efficient in.
Yeah, most efficient. So here's what happened, right? So I was just doing some research on spiritual practices, anxiety, depression. Now I couldn't believe like I mean, this is actual data. These are secular sources showing that just the impact on anxiety and depression alone, on how powerful it could be. And so I'm looking that up, and then I know the data on exercise. I know the data on sleep. I know the data on diet. I know the data on connections. And then and when you read these studies, what they say is as effective or maybe, and they say maybe because these studies don't go out for super long periods of time. They'll go out for 6 months or a year. As effective or maybe more effective than common antidepressant or anxiolytic drugs. And it dawned on me, the reason why you feel so good or better when you start exercising or working on the relationships that you have in your life, or praying, or you start working on your diet, those kinds of things, is not because they're remedies, but rather because you're lacking them. In other words, the symptoms of lacking those important things that you have to have in your life is anxiety and depression versus medications. Medications, you don't lack them. It's not like they do a test on you, Adam. They're like, oh, you're deficient in Prozac. You need more Prozac in your life. Or, oh, you're deficient in Xanax. We got to give you some Xanax. Those medications are actually there to cover up and blunt the signals of something that you're lacking. It's really no different than having a headache because you're banging your head against the wall and they give you painkillers.
So how would you coach to this? Would you coach for people to assess their own life, decide which one of these things are the most neglected and go after repairing that or improving that, or the low-hanging fruit, go after the one that you easily can impact and do right away? Like, how would you coach?
That's a great way to position it. As a trainer, I typically would go with the one that the person felt most comfortable that they could start and maintain.
Right, because I'm thinking like the thought of when you were
because you're right,
those,
the big ones might be the ones that are the hardest for them.
Right, like let's say relationships is like they have none of those, and that's definitely
and they're introverts.
Yeah,
it's real challenging.
But that's also such a leap to make that move when they could probably start prayer, they could probably start exercise, they could do some of these other things. So even though the friend one or relationship one may be the most impactful, it also may be the biggest hurdle to get over.
Yeah, what a great point. Because that's how that's how you train people, right? If you want to be effective at coaching someone, you have them take the step that they take first, or the one that they feel most confident that they could take and that they can maintain, because you can build on that. What you don't want to do is set yourself up for failure by taking a big step that if you're honest with yourself, like, I'm not gonna be able to maintain this. Let's wait. Let's hold off on that one. Let's start with the easier ones and build up. Plus, when it comes to anxiety and depression, as those start to get better, your capacity for taking bigger steps improves. Right? Yeah. Sometimes you're so anxious and so down that taking a step is so hard. Right? Like, let's say you're looking at your life and like, okay, I got to go to the gym, but man, I'm too anxious, or I'm just feel too down. I don't even want to get off the couch. Well, then maybe start with something that you can implement now, and then you'll start to get the energy and feel the capacity to do the other ones. But it is remarkable when you look at the data And because look, here's the fact. We're getting more depressed and more anxious. Okay, across the board, people are more anxious and depressed than we've been in a very, very long time. And keep in mind, we've been recording this for a little while. We've been through world wars. We've been through depressions. We've been through
harder times for sure.
Objectively, right? But what is happening right now? What's happening is all the things
anticipating all these things.
All the things that I mentioned are worse.
Yeah,
not better. Diet is worse. Activity is worse. Our connections to people is worse. Placing a spiritual practice at the top of our life is worse. People are not doing that as much. Sleep is arguably worse because people are so distracted, have so much more to do, or want to stay up to entertain themselves. Whereas back in the day, it got dark, nothing's on TV. What are we going to do? Read a book, go to bed type of deal. So the reason why we feel so crappy isn't because we need more medicine. It's because we're literally lacking stuff. Lacking things that we're supposed to have.
It's trapped in our mind and our body. A lot of this, like, and this is where exercise is huge for taking you out of your mind and placing in the body. Also, exhausting the body to the fact where it's working a lot of these like built up tensions out. Your mind itself, and why you mentioned prayer, why that's powerful, is you're offloading a lot of these things you can't control.
That's right.
We're inundated with things constantly because our phone's so connected to everywhere around the world that we're inundating ourselves with problems and things that we can't solve. And our mind still wants to solve it because it's just like a natural human inclination is to like, okay, well, how do we fix this? How do I do something about this? How do I do? And it's like, we're not taking the time to meditate about it, release it, you place it on paper, write it out. So it's out. It's not in. Like we're just keeping everything in.
Yeah. I would add too that all those things that you listed, not only are we doing less of that, but we also tend to replace it with something worse or something that's not healthy.
Go down the list.
So yeah, exactly. Go down the list and connection. So there's people that probably go like, what are you talking about? We have social media now. Oh, great. Yeah. So you think that this
artificial,
this personal connection that we've lost in person with people, you think you still have one because you've replaced it with social media, this toxic, comparing yourself to others platform, like horrible, you're not working out. What are you doing instead? You know what I'm saying? Not moving, eating bad food. Like, so go down
food has changed.
Yeah. Go down the list. And not only is it bad because you're lacking those things in your life, but the things that you're probably choosing to replace that time or that effort for those things is also not healthy.
And if anything, what it does is it gives you this false sense of, like for example, let's look at food. Food has changed radically. So you're like, I'm eating, but it's not the same. The food that you're eating is designed and engineered to be hyper palatable, and that's it. Nothing else. It's not designed and engineered to nourish your body. It's not designed and engineered to make you healthy. It's literally because we have markets, and markets are driven by consumers. And look, we're really bad at getting what we need. We're really good at getting what we want. We want tasty, fast food. That's what we want. We want food that tastes good. It's exciting to eat. It's like hedonistic, enjoyable. So all the money goes into that. Nothing goes into actually making it something that nourishes your body. And by the way, there wouldn't be much because the most nourishing foods are natural. They're not engineered. They grow or they run, swim, or fly, right? So what we've done is we replaced that, right? Friendships, you mentioned social media. Forget social media. Texting and even calling and FaceTiming is not the same as a real connection. It's better than nothing, but is it a replacement? It's not. They even show FaceTime will give you the dopamine, but you'll lack the oxytocin, right? So you go down the list, what we're doing is all these mental effects that we're noticing in all age categories that we're noticing is a result of what's funny? If we had pets that were exhibiting these same effects, we would be able to assess and we would be able to say right away what's going on. What my dog is going crazy, biting the furniture or seems down.
Any of his behavioral problems will be solved by having him outside exercising.
Yeah. What would be the first thing your vet would say? How often do you take your dog for a walk?
Yes.
Well, never. Yeah. I keep him locked up in the house all day. Yeah. Go take him for a walk. He'll feel so much better.
I put him in front of the TV at least for 2 hours.
I show him videos of dogs. Yeah. He should be okay.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me. But it really dawned on me because I'm always making the comparison of and again, we're not doctors. And by the way, don't take yourself off medication. You got to go through your doctor. There could be some nasty side effects or whatever, but talk to your doctor. But you look at these medications and they're literally what they are doing is they're like, oh my God, you have this natural state that we're supposed to live in, and now we're having all these terrible symptoms because we're not living the way that we're supposed to. How can we make a drug or medication that helps blunt the signals? Because back in the day, those were signals that told you to do something.
Yeah.
So if you keep blunting them, you're going to keep moving down that negative path. So it's an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
I think that needs to be had.
I have.
Today's giveaway is MAPS Anabolic Advanced. To enter to win, leave a comment below this video. Also turn on notifications and subscribe to this channel. If you win, if you have the best comment and you do those other things, we'll give you free access to MAPS Anabolic Advanced. Also, there's only 3 days left for our May special. MAPS Strong and MAPS Powerlift, 50% off. Again, it ends in 72 hours. If you're interested, click on the link at the top of the description below. All right, back to the show.
An interesting conversation to have with you guys that I did not even know about this. Are you guys familiar with Ashley Madison?
Yeah.
Yeah, come on.
I mean,
You guys knew what that was?
We've been around for a long time.
yeah, where have you been?
Bro, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Isn't that terrible? Isn't it terrible?
Did you watch the documentary yet?
No.
I heard about it before it
Bro.
came out. Yeah, how it got leaked.
So we got to explain.
So good.
We got to explain. People might not know what it is. It's literally a dating site for people to cheat.
Yeah, for married couples.
Yeah, married
Not
people
married couple. Married
Well,
people.
that's what I mean. Married people to go to have an affair.
Yes.
It's literally marketed as.
and that's what it says. Isn't that their tagline?
Yes, that
like
is
have an affair.
And did you know how long it's been around for? It's
Long
been
time.
That's why I was like so fascinated. Did you know about this? Did you?
I'd heard about it.
Wow, I normally
Their
am the one
whole
who's up and up, and
premise
you
of
guys-
the entire company was that they would keep your information secure
Yep.
and private. And
Yes.
that did not happen.
Yeah, so they got hacked, right? So that's what the documentary is about.
What?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so did it get released?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's why they made a whole documentary about this, was because it went from like, it started. It was one of the first dating websites. So let me first explain.
God, you got to love human behavior.
Yeah,
man.
I know.
I know.
Listen,
It's leaned all
listen.
into
As
the shit.
horrible,
Let's make some money off
Hey,
this.
as horrible as this,
Super predatory.
it's really kind of brilliant.
Of course it is.
And this is how the guy who created it was like. So it was right when all the dating stuff was coming about, and
So this was like what, late, like it was like 2012, 10, something like that?
yeah, it was maybe even earlier. Yeah, it was. It
So
was.
it's been around for a while.
Yeah, so even before that, I think I want to say it was like 06, 07.
Oh,
It was,
wow.
Yeah, they had like legit like commercials on TV.
Yeah, yeah.
For
Oh,
this.
yeah. I didn't know the whole story. So there's a whole documentary that's really fascinating. But the way it got started was this. Okay, so you remember when the dating websites came out, right? When it first started hitting like I don't even know the big names of all of them right now. I can't think of it.
eHarmony.
Yeah, like eHarmonies and all those, right?
Yeah.
So the guy who decides to create it, and the reason why he did it was what he noticed was 35%. I think it was 30 something. It was high mid 30s. 35% of all people on eHarmony and these sites were already married.
Wow.
And so,
So
he's like,
market opportunity.
Yes. He goes, oh my God, there's an alarming amount of people that are on these
Just on their shopping.
single. And so he's like, why not create some? So it's absolutely brilliant to like, why
What a
not?
piece of shit, though. You imagine building a business.
You're a terrible person.
Imagine building a business
Just like
where
a
you're
girl's
like,
gone wild guy.
Oh,
It's like
just-
the same.
I mean,
You're a
it's
piece
just
of crap.
it's finding a loophole in the way we've structured things morally, and like a lot of times we don't have a lot of morals, and so this is how something like this can happen in a free market.
Sure.
now
And
the
so-
data, I would imagine the data on a website like this has got to be so valuable because of the black market potential. Not black market, black mail potential.
Yes,
Because if you capture, imagine all these, like, you can message them, hey, I got your info, I'll put it out there if you don't pay me.
and the crazy ironic part about all that
Yeah,
was
right.
that so they marketed it and they promoted it as this like uber secure place. They had like these little on the bottom of the website, like all these awards for security, something like that. None of it real.
It was all bullshit.
No emphasis on
You
security.
know what? You gotta-
no emphasis on
You have to
security.
accept. You
That's
have to accept
amazing.
that because it's like this is a guy that
I
made a
know.
website to help people cheat.
That-
You think he's not gonna lie to you too?
Right.
Why is he being honest?
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
understand.
It's not fair.
This is a moral website.
I know. And the thing
I'm so bad that I got lied to.
and by the way, it still exists, right? So it's still around even
Oh, the
after
irony.
all this. But I mean, millions. And I think the last number I'd seen it was up to, maybe Doug can look it up, was like 32 million or 27 million people.
Wow.
That were
Have you heard of
this
this?
thing?
Have you heard of the
Nuts.
stories, by the way, of like husbands and wives running into each other on that site?
Bro, there's some awful stories.
I read an article about that. Like a husband was trying to find, someone to cheat on. Wife was, they matched and they saw each other on there. Are you mad at that point? Are you like,
You can't be. There was some crazy.
Isn't
crazy
that the premise
stories.
for that song? The cheesy song. What's the one like that's always playing in tropical areas?
oh,
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Hey, look at that.
Now I can't think of it.
70 million.
What's it called?
Members?
Yeah.
You know,
The
Hey, so-
Margaritaville or
yes,
something?
Margaritaville.
So when the hack came out, like the hack basically, it was someone basically saying shut this down or else we're gonna release everybody's information. Not even money motivated. They didn't even try and blackmail for money. They obviously somebody.
Now, who do you think a hacker was? You think it was a husband or a wife that got cheated on?
I think it was
Or neither?
Well, I think it was a dude. I just think it was a dude who did it. You know what I'm saying? Like it was as far as like most. I don't know.
Were they trying to extort
I don't know the hacking. The
Community?
very well, but anybody who's ever claimed to be a hacker that I know has always been a guy. So I don't know a lot of chicks that go around hacking computers. But maybe I'm way
Have
off.
you legit met like a hacker?
Oh yeah,
person?
I had somebody who worked for me at 24 Hour Fitness that he hacked into the 24 Hour Fitness site one time in front of me and showed me how he could change my salary right in front of me. I was like,
Wow.
oh, yeah, I was like, whoa,
Wow.
yeah. Of course, I didn't take advantage of that, afraid of what would happen. But yeah, no, I actually had a kid. I had a kid work for me
I've
that was a
never met
hacker.
So my
Like a
son's
hacker,
going.
dude.
My son's going to school for cybersecurity, and he was telling me how he's like never go on a public Wi-Fi. He goes, he's just learning this, but he's in this group in college of cybersecurity, and he goes, day one, they had us go onto the Wi-Fi, and then he cracked into all of our shit right away. It's like it's so easy to hack into shit if you're on a public Wi-Fi. He's like, never do it. And he goes, and use a VPN. Do you use a VPN? I'm like, no. He's like, get a VPN.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he was telling me all this stuff.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of dating websites, by the way, did you guys hear that might be the founder of Bumble did this whole presentation on the future of these dating sites? Do you guys want to know what it is? It's almost, it's sad, but again, brilliant. What do you think is what's the biggest challenge when it comes to dating? Right? Why are these dating sites so popular?
well, to meet them.
Yeah, go up to people, talk
Right.
to
Yeah,
people.
it's
The
uncomfortable.
first
to-
interaction's like the most
right.
awkward.
That's got to be right. It's the most
So
challenging.
what are they doing to hack that? What are
You
they
know
doing
they're
to cut
bro?
the corners?
This is actually brilliant.
Like you make
but
like
also,
a hype video of yourself or something like that. What is it?
Oh.
What is it? What is it?
AI will take your stuff and go talk to another AI
Oh
for another
my
person's
God.
site, and the
Your
AI,
AIs are gonna meet first. So
and they're gonna connect and then introduce you guys.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So your AI and Justin's AI will go out and talk to other AIs, for example.
Wow.
Or it's all the same AI or whatever, and it's going to match you like they're matchmakers in that sense, and start the whole conversation.
So you know what's hard. You know what it was like that.
This is a 92% chance of
getting so
match
weird.
with this. I know.
Yeah. and
well
dysfunctional.
here's the thing I wrestle with though. Like, so I mean I think in general humans are really bad at selecting mates. I think that I told you guys that before we had this discussion that I think a lot of it is driven by lust and our insecurities and our trauma, right? So that I really think that we're already really awful in general because I don't think a lot of people are self-aware enough to know about their trauma and understand the difference between love and lust.
Right.
So we're bad already, right? So then you take this tool that and you know all the data on arranged marriages, how successful they are, like 80% success rate. It's incredible. And a lot of that has to do with the cultures and the parents and
the support.
Yes, the parents
and
are like
how they view marriage.
Yes. And like, I'm not trying to match your hottest match. I'm like, this person would make a good partner for you. And so you get
How do
why
we
that
screen out the crazy.
Right. Well, so you get why that all works. So you imagine that that's how these algorithms are built, right? It's like, oh, somebody who's into these things is going to be compatible with these people. And so it's kind of crazy because it's probably better for a lot of people. A lot of people are probably really terrible at picking mates for themselves, and a stupid AI bot is probably going to do a better job.
I don't know if it's so. Here's where I go on the other side. It's like think of the learning process and growth process that comes from just for men alone, to actually step out of their comfort zone, talk to someone, introduce themselves. Like you learn a lot as a young man.
Listen,
through that
don't
scary
don't
process.
just mistake my point as thinking that I think it's better or good. It's more so
No, but
I
your
get it.
point
Yeah.
points to the fact that like arranged marriages are so successful.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you have like your family has your best interest in mind, and they probably see you from an external view that's like different than how you perceive yourself.
You know what's missing out of that conversation with arranged marriages, by the way, though, is here's the missing side of it, is that the people in arranged marriage cultures don't go out and date a lot and sleep with a lot of people. That's the factor that's one of the factors that probably plays a role into why it's so successful. Is they're not going around hooking up with a bunch of people, doing all this dating, and then mom and dad hook me up with something. It wouldn't work otherwise, right? It's the culture is really about like, I don't really date until I'm ready to get married.
I mean, maybe
and then we get
I actually have two friends where that's actually not true. Like Karan's an example of that. You know, he's a mutual friend of both Justin and I. He's from India, and his family, his whole life, like he was supposed to be arranged marriage, right? He comes from a very like royal name.
He held out for quite a while.
And he held out forever.
Yeah,
he
forever.
dated all kinds of like everything else, right? Outside of his culture, and was pretty adamant about not doing that. And then ultimately ended up going through like.
And he loves it.
And he's happily
with
married with kids, and he's got himself.
Well, the data on women is actually kind of interesting. That the more there's some data that suggests that the more men that she's with, the harder it is for her to bond each time. So as she successfully is with more, and more
didn't
people,
Adam Lane Smith talk about that? Didn't he talk about that? Like something,
like even the how the brain reacts to being with someone or whatever. Yeah, it starts to change. It makes it more difficult. So this whole like notion of like, you know, go out, test a bunch of people, see if this is might be wrong. And I don't know if I'm not an expert on this, but the data kind of suggests that if you look at you know, kind of where society's gone with marriage and stuff like that. So
yeah, well, I definitely think that there's a lot that you can explore and learn about somebody without crossing that threshold too. Right? Like it doesn't mean that
or without looking at someone like they're just there for your
I think there's a lot of value in dating different types. I mean, honestly, the most valuable thing about, in my opinion, about being with multiple partners before you get married is actually the learning process about yourself. It's not the experience.
Yeah, you gotta be a growth-minded person.
It's not right. Or else
otherwise you make the same damn mistake.
Yeah,
every time.
I mean, and that brings me all the way back to the original part of this discussion is that, you know, does this AI bot thing, I mean, improve what the relationship finding for a lot of these people? I just think that we're so bad at that and so stuck in our trauma lust that we can't look
You're gonna
past
write a book, aren't you?
Yeah, it's there for the taking. Yeah, if you can figure that out of like how to like perfectly match based on their like psychological profile.
So I didn't tell you guys this.
Genetic, you know, lineage.
So did I tell you guys this? Okay, so Katrina's into the whole what's the show that you guys watch too? The blind date. What's it called?
Oh God.
Love is Blind?
Love is Blind?
Yeah, Love is Blind. So did you know that the original one, the first episode, and I don't think it's Love is Blind, I think it's one of its counterpartners these stats are from, so don't quote me on it. Love is Blind, it's the other one that's like this. But the show was incredibly successful. Like 6 people are still married to this day. But it had like little to no views because it didn't have enough drama in it.
So they had to put in a bunch of
when they cast people now, so going on from season 2 on, since it's gone viral, I told Katrina, I speculated this before she read the article and found out
you don't
about
want
it.
normal people. Who's going to watch that?
They intentionally put the trauma-less people together. Like they go, here's his trauma from childhood. Here's his MO for the type of girl that he's not supposed to be with that he goes for. Let's go find exactly her and put her in the group of people. So they intentionally go and find people that these people are still. That's so terrible. So the show originally had some good, like a good idea. Like, hey, let's try.
But the goal is to get views.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, the goal of the show is presented is to help people. His love is blind, and can you help people get married off of? Like,
I mean, you guys know the story of the original first reality show was The Real World on MTV, and the first season.
I know, wasn't enough drama.
No, they were normal, regular.
It was about them understanding everybody's differences and being like, "Oh wow, we actually have a lot more in common than I thought." And, and then that was like not good enough.
No, then they brought it back in the second, third season and on. They brought crazier and crazier people and got way more views.
Yeah.
As well. Speaking of crazy, I gotta tell you guys, my my 3-year-old, man. I had this conversation with my wife. I said, honey, your language needs to change in the house because our 3-year-old, you know what he said to me? Or what he said about me?
Yeah, about you? He's talking about you?
Yeah, dude. He got mad. I don't remember he got mad. I think he took his baby sister's toy or something, and I said, "Oh, you can't take her toy. Give it back." And he got real mad, and he walks off, and I hear him under his breath, and he goes, "You're just a goddamn it shit."
Yeah. Oh, boy. You heard it, though.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Oh, no, I've heard it more than once now.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And we don't react.
The old bar of soap, man.
We don't react because it'll make it worse.
Sure,
I don't want him to know the power of these words.
Yeah.
He's just experimenting.
And you're
with
right.
words.
This is not a conversation with him. It's a conversation with who's saying that.
Oh, yeah. And she knows. She knows. And she's like, this is like the one thing that she has a challenge with, the real big challenge with around the kids, her language. But it's hilarious that he used it almost right. You know what I mean?
Like words kind of, yeah. Oh, wow.
Just he's a goddamn it shit. You know? Oh my god, dude. And you know, part of you wants to laugh because he's little.
Yeah, of course. But
it's not gonna be funny soon though. He's getting older now.
No.
They're like, oh, this kid, bro.
It's wild how, isn't it weird too? How like certain things, how that not only do they pick them up, but it's like it doesn't take many times. You don't even have to be someone like, I mean, maybe she does a lot, but I mean, you don't have to. Like sometimes like the novel thing, they just pick up on it and then they remember.
Yeah.
And it works both ways, good and bad, right? Like I told you, I shared the story with you about, you know, the Schaefer's never give up. Like he's now inserted that several. Yeah. And I only had that conversation one real hard time with them and it's made an impact. So it's funny how certain things hit them away where they're like, that's there. And like, it's ingrained.
Well,
now.
I'll tell you something else that we noticed is that, you know, when you get little, obviously when they're young, when kids are young, sharing is a tough concept. They don't really get that till they start to get like past 3.5, 4. But before that, it's either mine or it's not mine. Right. So it's just, they don't fully grasp this concept. So when my youngest would take a toy from my 3-year-old, you know, he'd get real mad and do the whole thing. And so, but we would try to empathize with him, like, yes, that's your toy or whatever. So anyway, you know what's happened now recently? It's working. It's the long game, but it's working now. This happened now a few times. She'll take something from he'll get mad and we'll say, you're right, it is yours, buddy. You just let us know and we'll make sure. And then he pauses and he goes, it's okay, she can play with it. So it's now starting to show like the fruits of the consistency. That work is starting to show now, where now he wants to give her things. He wants to help her out. But it took a little while because at first your instinct is to be like, no, she'll have it, dude. You know, give it back to her or whatever.
I'm struggling with the the opposite thing with my son with this. Like, so we were out with family out in Seattle and it was this is like the big side of my family. This is one with my cousin, my cousin Stephanie and them. They have they have like 4 girls. They all have, 4 kids or 6 kids. Like there's a ton. So there's a ton of us out there, right? Which is great. And this is the first time like Max and I are out there visiting with all of them. And we had a huge house full of kids and adults and everything. But you know how my son is like, it's like, that gets a lot. Like the first day we got there first and early and it was just like literally him and my.
It's a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, originally it was just him and like the little, my one little niece, and they're just 2 peas in a pod. I think I might've sent you guys a video. I don't know. I posted, I think on his Instagram of them playing and just, they were great. I was like, this is so awesome. This is gonna be so great. And then like the next day was like when everybody gets there. And so now it's a little more chaotic and now he's a little more standoffish. They live on a farm. And so we're outside and, we went to the chickens and got some eggs and we let him and 2 of the kids like, carry some eggs back up. So he's carrying eggs and they're like, I'm talking, with my cousin's husband, right? As we're walking back up to the house. So him and I are in conversation. The kids are like kind of chasing each other and having fun. And they live in a farm. So there's like rocks and dirt and gravel and, they're chasing each other. And my son's got the egg and he slips and he falls on the gravel, egg breaks. And it's just like, oh man, trauma. Oh yeah. Cross ball. And like he got shot. You know what I'm saying? Like this, okay, buddy. I mean, we didn't even break blood. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But he fell on gravel. So granted, it probably hurt, but it was like that made him emotionally like weak. And then from that point on, the rest of the day, like everything was like overly sensitive. You know what I'm saying? Like he slipped trying to grab something and it was like, oh my God. Oh. And he's like he's playing with these 2 girls, right? My 2 nieces that grew up on farms. So they're the opposite. They're like hit their face with like a stick. Like,
they've been there.
Wipe it off and then like keep going. And here's my son who's like trying to climb the ladder and he's having a hard time doing it. And he like stubbed his finger a little bit. I'm like, oh,
No, you got to validate it. You got to validate it. Eventually, he'll.
And that's the thank God everybody else is
Because
like,
what you don't want him to think is that having feelings is wrong.
No. I
Yeah.
never would tell him like he don't cry or anything like that. Like he can't do that. Like, okay, it's okay. You're gonna be okay, buddy. We're fine. So I get all that. It's just that, and that's I guess the inner struggle as a dad who wants him to be tough and resilient. And then also not wanting to crush that spirit of him, because then the flip side of that is like, oh my God, everybody loves him because he's the most sensitive and loving.
He's such a great kid.
He is. And he's well behaved and he doesn't throw tantrums and he doesn't break things. And so he's like everybody's favorite kid because of that. But then he's just like, God, but if we're doing anything rough and tumble, playing physical, it's like, oh, God.
So whenever Aurelius gets hurt or has something or whatever, and he's with his mom, he really she'll validate it. She'll validate it. She's really good at this. And me, I don't get mad, but sometimes I laugh because he acts it out so much that it's hard not to So he had like a little scratch on the bottom of his foot. We had a great day we were playing outside yesterday all day, and he had a little scratch on his foot. He's like, Mom, look at my foot. He's like, oh. So the rest of the day, he's crawling on the floor. He's like rolling around like he can't walk, right? He doesn't want to walk. Oh, it hurts so bad. And she's really good. It's okay, honey. I love you. Does it hurt or whatever? And I'm like, I have to leave the room because I'm like cracking up because the way he's acting it out on the floor. Bro, like he's broken. Like he lost his foot. He's literally with his arms dragging himself.
It won't work.
Well, you know what phase you guys should be coming up on that we're still in, which I had the other, because of all this stuff, it happened again, is the Band-Aid phase. Are you in the Band-Aid phase yet?
You got to cover.
Where you everything you needs a Band-Aid? Just because the Band-Aids are cool, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, we're getting in bed the other night and he's just like, Daddy, I need a Band-Aid. I'm like, where? Where is it? He's like pointing his knee. I'm like, there's nothing there, bro. Look, if you look real close, like this little tiny little red dot. Do we really need a Band-Aid for this? Yes, Daddy, I need a Band-Aid for that. Like, okay, yeah. So I'm like, he's all Band-Aided up.
Just wrapped up.
Bro. Like not a single real cut on him. Just a bunch of little red marks.
We had such a great day yesterday. So what we did, I got to tell you guys, man, you know what I did? I haven't done this in a while. I took Ned's Brain Blend with caffeine.
I took that this morning just now.
What? It's such a great.
I like the combo.
Okay, so
perfect combo.
So caffeine, everybody knows what caffeine feels like. It picks you up. The Brain Blend is cannabinoid based, so it gives you this euphoric kind of like feel good feeling. You combine the two, and it's like good time. You feel great.
It reminds me of the similar feeling. I don't know if it's in it. You have to tell me. But I remember when we first started the podcast, you introduced me into utilizing theanine with caffeine, and I just really liked that mellow, feeling.
It doesn't bring down the effects of caffeine.
You have
it
just as
makes
much
it a happy, smooth.
Yeah, it makes it smooth. It gets rid of the come down, and it gets rid of any sort of anti-jitter, anxious feeling that caffeine could cause.
It just gives it like guardrails. It's like, okay, we're not gonna go too crazy. We're just gonna.
Does the Brain Blend have theanine?
Brain Blend has herbs in there that help with brain function, and it also has a cannabinoid blend. So cannabinoids are what we find in the hemp plant, and it's got higher levels of cannabinoids that are more wakeful.
Okay,
that are better for. So, but the combination feels.
It reminds me of that.
Yes.
So it's okay. It's a good.
So here's why. So yesterday, here's what we did. Right. So it was a sunny day yesterday, and it was such a great investment. It's the stupidest thing, but it was such a great investment. I told you guys we bought a little kiddie pool.
Yeah.
And we inflated it, filled it up with water. We put it in the front yard, and we got these nice cheapo, lawn chairs that you can lay out in. And I told Jessica, so we got back from church. I'm like, she's like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do today? I'm like, let's hang out in the front yard and drink. She's like, okay. So I went,
old school.
So I went to Bevmo and I got margarita mix and I got all these different fun drinks. Yeah. I like to I'm not a big alcohol drinker, but I will try different things. I find that fun.
As long as it has bright, vibrant colors.
100%. What do you think all the drinks I got were?
Can we tell the audience how funny it is when we go places with all our staff and we're in groups of 10, 12 or more people?
Oh, I always think my drink is fun.
And they come over and Sal's the most jacked right now, right? And he's always got an extra small shirt on, so his arms are all popping out, veins are everywhere. So he's like, rah, and they come over with all the stuff, and there's always a drink with an umbrella or pink or bright yellow and stuff like that.
That's mine.
And it's the funniest thing to watch the waitress try and figure out who it belongs to because it's definitely not. she does not assume it's him. And so she's always like, who's this for? Like that guy right there, the big buff
I'll
guy.
take the sugary one, please.
Yeah.
The one that's delicious. So anyway, we were out there all day, out in the sun, just having a blast, man. Just we were playing music and the kids were playing in the water and we're just sitting out there and I'm ordering DoorDash while we're just having a great time, man. It was such a great day. It's the best.
I love that. And I think that I brought it up last time we talked about this was that the blow up thing that I did, that I thought that was one of the best investments I ever. I mean, we've already got we're on year 2.
I looked into it. Those are great.
Then they're reasonable for what you get. You get this
I use it every summer.
Massive setup. Yeah, and he will play on that for hours on that in the sun, wearing them out. Like, no, it's
so we're out there and we're hanging out, and of course my son's like, I gotta pee. So Jessica's like, she already taught him, you can pee outside. We gotta see this kid though. You gotta see what he does, bro. He walks over to the side of the front yard. Now we have all these bushes in front, so it's super private, okay? But he walks over to the the corner or whatever, and he pulls his his little swim trunks down because he's bare naked. And he starts peeing, but he loves to let's see,
just paint stuff with it,
everything. Yeah. And I'm watching him from behind. I'm dying because he's
do that.
wow. He just all over the place.
Mode.
Like, what is he doing? He's just having a blast out
dude. Speaking of that,
I haven't peed like that in a long time.
Oh my god, you just remind me of something that happened last night. So I Max has been trained to when, especially when it's bath time or what that he comes over and we pee together, right? We've been doing it since he was a little kid, since I've taught him how to pee and shake and do all those things. And sometimes he'll just kind of side bust me when I'm peeing. I'm not because it was time for his bath and I'm in the bathroom and the door's open and I'm standing there peeing and I'm wrapping up and he sees that I'm doing it and he had already gotten naked for the bath. And so he comes rushing over to, grab his and start peeing right next to me. Oh, because he always wants, I want to pee on top of yours or I'm going to win. Right? It's like a thing. But I'm mid shake. And so he comes running up to do it. And he's like, "Oh, Daddy got in my eye."
Oh, no.
So I said, "Well, buddy, you got to be careful. You can't just you can't be running up head first into dad pee.
You got to learn, dude. It's all right. It's a learning process."
I died laughing because it was so unintentional. You know what I'm saying?
You got to learn, dude.
I was right in the middle of it. That's
Friendly
exactly right.
fire.
I was like, "Hey, son," I was like, when Daddy's in the middle of shaking, probably not a good time to stick your head in there.
Oh my god,
these are stories he's gonna love to hear.
Oh god,
when he's like 14.
I almost forgot you just said that. I was dying laughing that it happened.
It's a good time. I was reading some studies on peptides over the weekend, fun reading or whatever. And one of the peptides that a lot of our listeners use quite a bit when they go through our people is Tesamorelin, which have you guys been on?
Do you know it's number one?
I've been on it before.
Is that the top one?
Yeah, I didn't even tell you guys that. Okay. So I didn't know if you knew that. So
it makes sense why it would be the top
when we had
one.
the meeting with Transcend, I asked him, I said, "Hey, and I actually was surprised. I wouldn't have thought that.
So it makes sense because if your goal is build muscle, burn body fat, sleep better, speed up recovery, improve cognitive function, improve your immune system, getting optimal levels of growth hormone will do all that. That's what growth hormone will do. And so what Tesamorelin is it tells your body to produce more growth hormone. Now, the reason why these peptides are so great is because you're not going to produce so much growth hormone that you're going to get side effects or whatever. What it does is it gives you the growth hormone levels you had when you're 18 or 19. So anyway, I've been reading all these studies on it. And it's one of the few growth hormone releasing peptides that's been shown to burn body fat, build muscle, and also reduce visceral body fat. So they'll actually change the way your body stores body fat.
Interesting.
In some cases, it reduces.
And is that just purely because all those same things are what you get from a higher or more optimal level of growth hormone, right? So it's it's not like I just want to make that clear so the audience understands that it's not like Tesamorelin does this. It's that
the growth hormone.
Yeah, it triggers you to uptick your growth hormone. A healthy, optimal level of growth hormone will do all these things.
So Jessica's been using it now for a little while, and I've been noticing that her skin looks. I've been telling her, you look like something's different. You look different. What's going on? You look younger. It's got to be that. Because the growth hormone goes up. Your skin starts to look younger.
Skin and hair and all that.
Yeah. Hair, nails, all
that right away.
Nails. I got something for you guys. I just saw this. Target is now got an AI robot manicure thing. Look it up, Doug. Look this up. Put in
That'd be
Target AI
Put your
mannequin.
hand in.
Yes,
Like-
yes.
Yeah.
What if it like the RPM start getting out of hand?
I mean, I saw that. I went, oh my God, that is.
It sharpens.
I
too
mean, I
much.
don't know about your wives, but that's like a much bigger expense than I realized that we have in our family.
manicure?
Yes. Like my wife is very particular about her nails always being up to par. And if one breaks, you got to go redo it. And it's like,
What's the one service that your
Yeah.
wife like can't? Is it her? Is that for her manicure?
no, one above that would be eyelashes.
Okay.
If you ever noticed, you've never seen Katrina not with her eyelashes on point.
Jessica's
That is a big
Jessica's
deal.
massage. She gets massage. She'll cancel all that shit instead and keep massage.
Oh, yeah,
But for
no.
Katrina's eyelashes.
Oh yeah, no, she will not be caught dead anywhere without her eyelashes done. So eyelashes and then
manicure.
probably the manicure
Throw
will
Courtney
be.
under the bus. She gets Botox every now and then.
That's her.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
you
her-
totally threw her under the bus.
But that's her thing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like,
Look at-
she likes
Target's nail painting robot in action.
So it's a nail painting robot,
yeah.
but it doesn't manicure your nails.
No, yeah. Watch.
It trims them. Does the whole
Well,
thing too?
I don't know if it does the trimming or not.
Because I'd be worried about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh
Everybody-
wow, it's all you can book it all like that too. I mean, the reason why I brought it up is of course. Well,
But does it also talk to you while it happens?
No.
How's your family?
Yeah, but this is a
It's
really
so pretty. You know.
It's so pretty.
this is such a big industry and it's not cheap, and so what a
This color's
disruptor.
Perfect.
And there's going to be a ton of people that they don't care as long as they have some sort of nails done. It's better than not. And obviously, everybody's going to have their favorite nail lady who does the best work.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah,
It's like a laser. What is that?
I don't know.
I don't know. I get a little scared though. Your finger's tied in there, and the machine's about to go. Yeah.
Just catches fire.
Look at it.
Oh yeah. Look at that. Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, the one I saw. Yeah, see, they did like some serious detail and stuff, so it was like well done.
Yeah, we should go test it out. You know, look, it's one finger at a time.
Yeah.
Is what you had. So it's obviously measuring and making sure, Justin.
Almost done. Sleep mode.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I know.
Yeah. You want to hear a crazy story? A really crazy story?
Yeah, more
So-
crazy than the nails like that.
Way crazier. than
Okay,
that. So I have a sister-in-law that's a nurse, and she works I could say she works in Vegas, and she works in the ER and stuff like that. And so she's constantly telling us
They
stories.
always have the craziest stories.
Bro, some of the stories she says are so, I want to repeat because they're so depressing, so crazy, so whatever. And some of them are just, what happened?
Yeah,
That-
always something that makes its way in the butt.
Like, how did it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another
That is
one,
true.
right?
it's like a whole
Or
category.
ER. So I did an ER nurse before, and it was so bad, Sal, that I had to tell her, you have to stop telling me about your job. I can't hear about it anymore because the negativity and the stuff that she would see or go through. There was never like a good positive night. Like even if there was like a good story where someone got saved, there was too many negative stories to
it's
counter that. So it's like you can't. I would have to
traumatic,
tell her, I'm like,
everything's
you can't tell me
traumatic.
about your night. Like you just had. I'm sorry.
So this is all in one night apparently, but one woman was in labor, and they had to kick out her boyfriend because she was giving a blowjob to him while she was in labor. So that
Wow, what a
happened.
champ!
Yeah,
Wow,
what a shit.
what a
That's
wife!
a real lady right
What
there.
a-
No, boyfriend. It was a girlfriend thing.
Oh.
Now, do you think she did it, or do you think he convinced her? Like, babe, you know what helps with those contractions? You know what really will take it away.
You know, let's take your mind off of what's happening right now.
I don't know. Would you? I mean, I'd be worried. You know, like she's. You know,
Wait,
she might
she-
clamp
wait,
down
She's having
Wait a
contractions.
minute.
She was giving him a blowjob.
while she's. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I said. What
Yeah,
a champion! I said she's a
Yeah, well,
champion. Yeah, that's awesome.
There is that mythical
they had to
theory
kick
of the
him out.
orgasmic birth, right?
I've heard of that.
Yeah,
That doesn't make any
it's-
sense.
come on.
Anyway, they had to kick him out. Another one. That this is just a run of the mill. This woman got this huge Uber bill because she delivered a baby in the Uber on the way to the hospital, so she had to pay for all of that shit.
Oh my god,
That's funny.
Yeah, dude.
That's funny.
You imagine being an Uber driver?
Yeah.
Get me to the hospital. You're like, bitch, you better hold that in there.
Oh, dude.
And she had, like, right when they got to the hospital, baby.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and so it messed up the whole car.
Oh my god.
And had to.
Yeah, that would scare the shit out of me. Right there.
she's been
Dude, that's crazy.
I know. Isn't that hilarious?
That is.
Yeah, I have a totally off-topic subject, but like, so you know the Bluetooth thing, like when you're connected,
Yes.
like what problems can happen as a result of that. Well, thankfully, it wasn't like what you would think immediately. It was not as bad, but it was bad. Like Everett was sleeping, and so his iPad died or whatever, and which we usually run like white noise through. So I was like, I'll connect, my phone and then, put it on the Bluetooth speaker in his room to have, he still had access to it. And it was going through, and I was just like out kind of scrolling and checking something. I actually hung it up, but then I was like scrolling, and it landed on. I follow all these like metal pages, and it like started playing
In the middle of the night?
Death metal. Like, he woke up like like opens his door and was just like, Dad. And I was like, oh my god, I totally forgot like completely.
You're right. You're right. That could have been a lot worse. for
Yeah,
sure.
so I was like, at least there was a high pitched moaning.
Poor kid.
Crazy, but yeah,
So it's like white
I
noise.
feel bad.
And then wah, 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 wah.
Well,
Crazy.
the whole weekend we didn't get great sleep at all. We were all kind of like,
Well, you were in Salt Lake, right?
Salt Lake for their competition. This was like to get them to qualify, their last opportunity for the nationals is like the one where it's like, you know, for everything. And so neither of them had qualified from the previous meets, except Ethan did one event. But now Ethan's like, he's got 2 events he's qualified for. He did really well. But Everett was like, this is last year, and it's confirmed he's not doing gymnastics
"I'm
again.
done."
It's funny because all the parents and everything, they kind of found out, and they're all like trying to like, no, you can't leave.
Because he's good.
He's really good. The coach even was just, and I love his coach. He's a great coach, but he's just like still trying to be like, you know, it's a real bummer. Like he's like trying to like tell me and express how talented he is in especially like one of the events and could go far with it, but he's just not into it anymore. But you know, our whole thing, and like you guys have that kind of saying with your family, and ours is like not quitting anything or like doing it to the very best that, you know, you possibly can do. And I'm like, this is your last opportunity. Like, and you didn't qualify. Like, we need to qualify. And you know, we're having this little pump up talk, and he didn't qualify for the trampoline, and like it was all down, you know, the first day. And I'm just like, you know, we're all kind of like bummed. And then he just was like, all of a sudden got this spark and was like, I'm going to qualify. And like Courtney and I, like, okay, like for a double mini is this last event. And we're just like on pins and needles in the front, and like all the parents that were in the gym were behind us, and we're all just like kind of cheering him on. And then he just like killed it. And then he qualified.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah,
what's
we're
double minis?
super pumped.
Is that the double jump one?
It's the one where you run to the trampoline that's kind of angled.
Yeah.
And you hit it, you jump, and then you do a double jump flip off of it.
Oh, wow.
But so and every kid there is like super talented at the top of their class. And so he was just like, when he just found this like mental focus, like that came out like out of nowhere. We were like super.
It's got to be so all performance is mental, so mental, but that's got to be so mental because the confidence required to land something like that. Like if you're off just a little bit, I could imagine.
Now,
like
everything just unravels if you don't.
Now,
of course,
as a dad, is there a follow-up conversation that you have after that, or is it just celebrate his hard work and win, or like did you talk to him afterwards?
Yeah, no, I told him. It was mainly like you see like the results of this, and like when you're that focused on something, and you're you're putting that kind of effort and attention, and you care. Like when you care about something like that, look what happens as a result of that. You know? And it's kind of on that line of conversation. But he understands. He's just burnt out, and it's not his. He's never really felt like this is his sport, and he wants to find other ones. So that's kind of been a hard thing. Because I'm like, you're in it now, so you got to maximize.
Yeah, but still, what a cool lesson, right? Like a lot of times in life, we're going to have things that we're not really into or like that, but you still put your best effort.
And look what happens sometimes.
Exactly.
So just to paint the context a little more, like what does their training look like? Like how many days a week are they going, and how many hours is it? Because
sometimes 5 a week, you know, because especially leading up to competition, they have to like.
And how long are they there
on the skill
when they go?
3-4 hours.
Okay, so see, this is what people understand is that if you don't have a passion for this, it sucks.
It's a lot.
It's a part-time job.
Yeah, it's more a commitment than baseball and all these other. Which baseball was crazy, you know, when we were doing that when they were little, but because of the travel and then too, but. Again, and they have to go to all of these other gym locations to learn new skills, and then they level up. And so the whole leveling up process, I guess they call it mobilizing, but like some of the kids never mobilize, you know, and they stay at this lower level. And then it's like the parents are like, well, do we stay, you know, in the sport? Do they keep going? That's what I love about this sport, though. There's no like participation. Oh, well, you did great, so we're going to give you this. Like you stay there. you don't move forward unless you literally do it.
What signs do you look for in your kids, because they're young? What signs do you look for overtraining? Because that's so much training. It's so physical.
Yeah.
Like, what should parents look out for? What do you look at in your kids?
It's a tough one. I mean, it's a lot of the nagging pains and fatigue and like
you just look at their mood.
Yeah, their mood. It's a big indication. Is especially in the middle of the day, and we're trying to get them. They're just like, I know if they're training a lot, they're very slow to do anything, and like. I've had some where I pulled them out of practice because I'm like, you know what, you could, like, it's a lot. Like, I know that you need to rest up, and it's usually based off a small injury that's like kind of borderline. And I'm like, we need to like recover.
I was having this conversation with my brother-in-law. Now, he's not a kid; he's a grown adult. But he's like, man, today my ass is kicked. I'm laying down on the couch. I did jujitsu for 3 hours. Then I went on a run. I lifted weights, and he's like, I'm just floored. I'm like, listen, bro.
What are you doing?
Yeah, dude. I'm like, you know how much better you would do
I know.
if you trained less?
I know.
If you just trained less, you would do so. So I was having this conversation with him, and I had to, the way we're getting around it is he agreed. He's going to start, because I had to really sell it to him. I had to explain it to him. Like, your performance is hampered because you're training beyond your body's capability to recover. Yeah. So the two things he's going to do is, one, he's going to cut his volume way down. So he's going to lift weights once a week now, and he's going to do jiu-jitsu 3 days a week. Whereas before, he was trying to do it all. 6-7 days a week, he's trying to do everything. Yeah. Every day he had to do something.
Yeah.
So 3 days jiu-jitsu, 1 day lift, 3 exercises. I say, you're just going to do 3 lifts. And now he's going to incorporate plunging. He's going to incorporate cold plunge.
Nice.
Yes. Because, and I did tell him, it will help with recovery, but it is not a magic. It isn't magic. Like, the most important thing is that you sleep and then you take that time off.
You see that they have
great discipline if you can keep it up.
They got a new model from the upgrade, because the Park City house, which, by the way, you didn't get to stay at the Park City house.
I know, I'm so, I
he got a chance to stay at his own house.
I couldn't even like go anywhere other than like across the street. We stayed at the Hilton, and it was like, we literally stayed at the convention center.
Oh
like,
my God.
Every day.
So we have all these cool amenities at the Salt Lake house or the Park City house, and you haven't even got a chance to use it. So we have like their plunge has a top of the line sauna. We have that inside the garage. We also have their top of the line extra large cold plunge. Yeah. But they have now come out with a new model that's even better than that. And I believe it gets colder and warmer, like way faster than that one does both too. We have
it does?
Yeah, it does. But I think it like at a way faster rate. I don't know if Doug looked up to see the difference in the performance in that. But I was looking at it, and then I also noticed that they have a whole lineup now. I don't know if you guys have seen this now, but they have like...
Oh, I did. They have they have an inflatable, a very inexpensive plunge that's inflatable and sturdy. Yeah. And if you want, you can add
the filter.
The filter that makes the water. Or if you want to go real inexpensive, it's like $100, something like that. It's just the inflatable plunge, and then you can add ice and water.
That's what's so brilliant about... That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the plunge, Doug, not the sauna. That's what's so brilliant about it, is they like have listened to what everyone said. It's like, listen, if you want to go as inexpensive as possible, I know there's competitors that had launched these kind of like cheaper standalone tubs. So they now have that, and it's super cheap for just a blow up one. And then you can do the kind of, you want to get a filter, so it's a little
Cadillac
bit nicer.
too.
Yeah, or you go all the way.
So I'm thinking about getting the one of them for my garage. So our garage is all set up like a gym. And
you know what? It was quieter too, Doug. That's what it was.
Oh,
okay. I've been adding more and more equipment little by little. Mostly Jessica uses it, and I added a hip thrust machine. I think I told you guys, right?
Oh, did you get it?
Yeah,
you hadn't set it up yet.
Yeah, I built it. I put it together, and it's not like this super awesome commercial one. It's good enough. It's good.
You're a big hip thrust guy.
Just to add volume. I actually like hip thrust. I do. I really like the way that they make my deadlift feel, Adam.
Yeah.
Anyway, not all of us have naturally nice looking glutes, by the way. But anyway, I have that in the garage, and I'm thinking of adding a plunge. That just for the cold plunge.
Yeah.
Instead of waking up and throwing caffeine at myself, seeing if I could substitute.
I wish I had one at my house too. I just don't have any space.
It sucks, and I don't like cold, man. I love hot. I'll go in a sauna all day long. I'll sleep in a sauna, no problem. Cold to me is just But I know I'd benefit from it.
And what I love about it is at least
so
this.
Opposite with that.
There's a lot of things.
You like cold.
Yeah.
You guys.
There's a lot of things that we do in health and fitness that, it's like a compounding investment. You have to do a lot of it before you really feel or see the return on it. What's cool about the plunge is it's instant. I mean, the very first time you get in it, you will feel the benefits from it. It's not like you
lasts a while.
Yeah.
Like hours.
Yeah. All day you'll feel better. And from that moment, like the moment you get out, I've always compared it as
euphoric.
The best like caffeine rush I've ever had in my life without the jitters. And so that rush of energy like that. And also your cognitive focus, and then I feel great all day long. So that's what's at least nice about it is as miserable it is to get in, because that never ends.
That's
I swear
all
to God.
it's that first like couple seconds of just entering it.
Yes.
And then after that, it's
game
fine.
on,
It's
and
great.
you feel it, and you feel all the
I
benefits.
got to tell you guys, I had a great ego moment today at the gym. I'm going to be honest with this total ego moment. So let me ask you guys this: who, if you go to a gym, especially one that's kind of strength training focused, who are the respected people in the gym? Who are the people?
The old guys, the guys that are 70s and they look good.
It's
and
always
they're
the
consistent.
buff old guys.
It's always the buff
And
old
gals.
people, right? It's always them. They're like they walk in and it's like they're the kings and queens of the place. Now, where I work out, I'm not that old. I'm only 45. But when I work out in the morning, sometimes I'm definitely one of the oldest. There's a couple people that are older than me.
Really?
I'm one of the oldest people in there.
Really?
At this time. Yeah, I go in at like 7 a.m., 6:30.
That's kind of when the old guys go.
Usually. And there are some. You see a few. In fact, there's this one guy that's like, he's got to be in his late 70s, and he's this grouchy, asshole looking guy. And he's the guy I told you guys that
He's like an old Adam working out next to him.
Yeah, and he is. He's like, you can hear when he talks. He's like a crusty old fucker or whatever. But I always say hi to him when I come in. And now he gives me a nod now. But he always makes us look, and he gives me a nod like, I'm like, this guy's so angry while he works out.
Yeah.
But I'm in there working out, and I ran into Kyle. So Kyle was working out there this morning.
Kyle trains there too?
Yeah, he just started training there.
I didn't know that.
I seen some. I was from behind. I'm walking up. I'm like, that looks like Kyle. He's doing leg curls or whatever. And fist bump him. We're talking, and I'm like, bro, am I like the old guy in the gym? And he starts laughing. He goes, maybe. And then my ego just, I want to be that guy.
You want to be the old guy?
I'm not yet. I'm not yet. But I can't wait. I can't wait to be that guy.
Oh, I can wait. I don't want to be that guy yet.
No, it feels good. It just, fitness changes how you view aging. It just does.
To continue to feed your ego, I'll feed your ego some more, because you were the subject matter at my family event.
Oh no!
Yeah,
really?
some of because my family is, that side of the family is part Italian, and so all the girls on that side of the family listen to the podcast now. Stephanie is the longest listener, so you've met Stephanie. She's been here before, she's a huge fan of yours, and so. But both my aunt, my two cousins, and then Stephanie, so there's 3-4 of them that all listened to the podcast, and they all shared the same thing about you originally, which was they thought you were like this kind of like arrogant, cocky prick. Then they have had the opportunity to meet you.
Where'd they get that from?
Well, they say, they all say is like, and remember, they're my family, right? So there's like, he cuts you off or interrupts you all the time. So we really didn't like him, right?
I'm not taking a drink.
And he's always arguing with you, and he's always got. And
I don't.
Yeah. And so, of course, right? So they all have that. But then at some point, they've all had the opportunity to meet you or like that, and so they're like, oh my God, he's so opposite of what I thought he would be like.
He's actually a nice guy.
Yeah, he's so humble, and he's so nice, and he's so thoughtful, and he's just like, I love Sal. So they all like
that's
now,
nice.
Yeah, now you're their favorite. So
thank you.
Yeah.
So I beat you?
Yeah, so I'm really, I don't know how that
That's
happened.
good. I was just gonna say, I'm never on Twitter, and I see somebody like tweet something about me on there, and it was like something about because I wear all these different types of hats, like all different teams, and I'm like, dude, I have no loyalty, especially at baseball.
Yeah.
My only loyalty is to the Niners, and I wear this because of like Magnum PI and all that. Anyways, they're just like, there's so many people that are always like so pissed that they find out you're like, rocking somebody else's team, and so. You're their new favorite now, too.
Why?
So because I lost position because of the hat. The
so
teams
just
I
by
rock.
default, not really because I did a good job.
No, you didn't do anything.
Speaking
special.
along those lines, what's funny? I had this thought. We've talked about this before, but I was really thinking about this because if you listen to our show, people who've been listening for a long time, we evolved. Of course, you have to. You should, right? If for over 9 years, but we really changed quite a bit as individuals, and then of course as a podcast. And I was thinking about this quite a bit. I had somebody comment on that. Somebody had sent a message and said something like, it's really great to see your guys' evolution, how you guys talk about fatherhood, how you guys talk about all these different topics that you at one point talked about it this way, now you talk about it that way. And I thought, what a gift and a blessing the podcast has been, because as a trainer, one of the things that saved my life personally, because I had such a bad, and I could still have a bad relationship with exercise and diet and supplements and all that shit, and I still struggle with it. But what saved my life was I had clients that I loved so much, that I wanted to help so much, that it was impossible for me not to feel like a hypocrite half the time. Like, to tell this person, you're overtraining, don't obsess over your looks, don't whatever.
Yeah.
It's really hard when you say that all day long to people you care about to not be like, I should take my own advice. I should take my own advice, right? The podcast does that quite a bit because you're talking and you're saying things. And if people point things out, or if you hear your voice and you hear the things you say, it's like, wow, I sounded like an asshole. Or,
it's maybe, the ultimate accountability.
Yeah. Maybe I am arrogant. Maybe I do think I know it all. Maybe I do whatever. That's for me personally. So, so what a blessing. And I could see how some people might not be comfortable with that, but I love it, man. I love the fact that,
I know. I think it's one of my favorite parts. It's definitely been one of my favorite parts. Yeah, it's as far as a growth tool. And to your point, I think that I thought that was a huge hack for those that are aspiring coaches and trainers, or already know this. Like, that is like, man, you get this awesome opportunity. That's what it makes up for. The lack of income that you make as a trainer is made up in the value you get from all these unique people. Because if you get people that can afford training, most of them are affluent, most of them are educated, wise. Like, you get,
at the very least, they're trying to prioritize something good. So they're growth-minded.
Yeah, so you get kind of a nice selection of humans. Typically, it doesn't mean you don't have one asshole client or someone you don't like, whatever. But for the most part, you get some really cool, unique, intelligent, wise people that you spend hours every single day with, and so diverse too. So you get all of this eclectic of different types of personalities and backgrounds, and it's like an awesome growth tool. And I'd say that the podcast is arguably that good or better, because not only do you get what you said, where you say something and you hear yourself say it, and you ask do I believe that bullshit? Do I believe my own shit that I'm saying? Like, and so you question that. Then you get to, as blessed as we've been, to actually grow to the size to where we attract massive people that are like brilliant authors and speakers. And then you get to sit down and talk to them, privately for a couple hours live, and then post show afterwards. Like, man, it's like, those are some of the most brilliant educators and minds we've had the opportunity to sit in a room with and publicly share information with and privately share information with. That combined with what you're saying is, man, that's been such a cool.
It's like turbocharging growth if you're okay with it, if you're open to it.
Yep.
Because otherwise you'll be embarrassed.
You'll get crushed.
You'll get crushed, man.
And the truth is, I would do it for free. And I think that is part of the secret sauce of finding something that you're going to be successful in is, would you do it even if you didn't get paid? Is it something that you like doing so much, or you're willing to put the hours in? If
I thought about that the other day. You ever do that game? Like, if I won the lottery, right? It literally would come back to work.
You have to.
No, I'd come right back to work.
Would change.
Nothing would change.
I would intentionally spend all of it just so I had to come back to work.
Right?
I'd probably end up splitting it with you guys. Like,
blow all of it. So I had to go back to work. Because you always hear of those crazy stories too, of people that retire and they like die shortly after, because it's like, once you lose that, it's like, that's a lot of people's built-in purpose is this, purpose to provide, to be a father, to be like, to whatever it may be. And that's tied to their career or job. And they think they'll be happier when it's all over.
We're not meant to be domesticated animals that are just given our basic needs and then we just sit around.
No. I also think that's why it's so, I've also appreciated how long it's been and how to the journey too. Like, you think that overnight success or overnight riches would be an awesome thing, but it's not. It has made me value each level and each milestone so much, because it's like, oh man, it was a lot of work to get to that. It was a lot more work to get to that. And so if it all came in one windfall right away, and you had like this overnight stardom and overnight windfall of money,
it's actually a curse.
Yeah, it would be. It really would be.
It would be.
I probably wouldn't appreciate all the little things that I've learned to appreciate now.
Speaking of blessings, the live event in Vegas, if it's still available, mindpumplive.com, you can buy tickets. Come hang out with us. It's going to be at the Bellagio in Vegas.
It's around
June 15th.
Around the corner, man.
It's a good time.
Hey, by the way, too, speaking of that live event, so confirmation already, Max, Jordan Shallow, Jen Cohan, all going to be there with us. So
Luca Beer will be there.
yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So, and Jen Cohan. And, oh no, Gabriel Lyon can't make it. She's speaking at that time. But I'm also talking to Don Saladino, who's trying to make his way out there also. So we're going to have a good crew of our good friends. So and then Mike Matthews and I are still talking too. So hopefully not only we get a chance to kind of hang out with us, do our live event, but then we'll have some of our closest friends from the podcast that people can mingle and hang out with also.
Sometimes eating a high-protein diet can cause some gastro distress. Well, you can use a product called Masszymes. These are digestive enzymes that help break down the food so you get those amino acids to your muscles. You break down those carbohydrates to fuel your workouts. You break down those fats to nourish your hormones, your nerves, and your body. Digestive enzymes help you break your food down, making them more bioavailable for all the things that you want from your food. Anyway, go check them out. Go to bioptimizers.com. That's bioptimizers.com/Mind Pump. Use the code MindPump10 and get 10% off your order. All right, back to the show.
Our first caller is Bryce from Arkansas.
What's up, Bryce?
What up, Bryce?
How's it going?
Go on, dude.
Hey guys, doing great. Glad to meet you.
You too, man.
Same. How can we help you, dude?
You look holy with that halo behind you. I just want to point that out.
So I've been lifting on and off for like 20 years, man, and finally met you guys when I was at a place in life where for the first time I was going to the gym to lose weight instead of gain, and I was doing everything wrong. You guys changed all that for me. I've had nothing but praise for you guys. You've touched people in my life through me that never heard of Mind Pump. I've run into people at the gym who are on Mind Pump, and everybody's all about you, man. You guys are great.
Right on.
Awesome. Thank
Appreciate
you.
that.
Sick.
What you got for us?
Yeah, so I got an easy question for you guys probably.
We like the easy ones.
I can squat and deadlift substantial amount of weight without much pain or issues at all. Got great ankle mobility, great hip mobility, but when I go to do split stance exercises, particularly lunges, my knees won't let me do it, man. They hate me for it.
Where are you feeling the pain?
Front, side,
right behind my kneecaps, man. It feels like it's a pretty acute pain. It feels like a tendon's just stretching or.
So underneath the kneecap? In other words, if you were to take your kneecap off, it's like it's coming underneath?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so there's something called chondromalacia where there could be some cartilage damage there under the kneecap. Were you an athlete at any point, or did you have any knee injuries, or were you a runner?
I played a lot of football, man, in high school.
There you go.
Took a lot of hits, but nothing beyond that.
Okay. So when there's a lot of, for somebody with a little bit of patellar chondromalacia under the kneecap, whenever there's a lot of pressure on what's called knee extension and flexion, in other words, with a lunge, oftentimes there's a little bit more pressure in driving the knee, in extending the leg or in that direction, especially front step lunges, or when the knee moves forward past the foot. Then sometimes people can feel pain under the kneecap. Now, a couple things you can try doing. You could try warming up with leg extensions, foam rolling.
Reverse lunge.
Yeah, all of that to kind of help the knee track a little bit better. Have you tried lunging at the end of your workout versus the beginning to see if it makes a difference?
No, so I'm following symmetry right now, and typically it's not too big a deal when I don't have a substantial load, but we're doing barbell lunges, and I throw a plate on my back or on each side, and that's not too much weight for me to handle, but it is. I'm moving suboptimally, or I've got something structurally wrong. It just hurts. So.
And this is a front step lunge where you're stepping forward into a lunge.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, so I would stop the front step.
Reverse.
I would do a reverse lunge, which will take some pressure off, or just get in the split stance and then just go straight up and down,
like Bulgarian style.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing too is you're saying you're not using substantial load, but it is substantial load for the issue that we're dealing with. So anytime there's pain, even if it's a weight that you're like, oh, I should be able to handle this, something is not able to handle this is the point.
Sal, what about BPC 157 for that?
You can use peptides like BPC 157, thymosin beta, along with some correctional exercise to see if you can help with some of the healing. And you can look up what I said about the patellar chondromalacia. But in my experience, I've worked with people who've had really bad cases of this. And when we warm up well, when we work on things like the IT band, we get the kneecap to track properly. Little by little, we're able to improve, this particular issue. But I would try warming up with leg extensions. And the way you do it is you bring the leg all the way up and squeeze really hard at the top.
Hold it as like isometric.
Yes, isometrically. And then slowly let it lower back down. And then try the lunges and see if you feel better.
And then
combat
also
stretches too before.
Yeah, if you can have access to a sled as well, just to add volume and strength without a lot of like impact there around the joints. So to pull it backwards and have usually you can get a strap around your waist and just kind of walk it backwards, but that's going to help a lot with that stability there in the knee.
So so you're pulling the sled. Does that make sense? Where you kind of you're dragging it backwards.
Yeah, you're dragging.
And that's like a knee. It's like a knee extension.
You see. Are you familiar with what's the guy's name? Ben.
Toes.
Yeah, knees over toes guy. He's got a lot of really good check him out. Okay, so go to Instagram and go to Knees Over Toes. His name's Ben. I forget his name, but he's got a lot of really good bulletproofing your knees content. And I've seen that guy. And he swears by what Justin just shared with you, which is the sled drag as far as like bulletproofing your knees. I also would make it would do combat stretch before. You get into any of your lower body stuff too. So between what all the guys are saying, combat stretch, dragging the sled, all those things. And then of course, if you need to, the reverse lunge should take a lot of pressure off of it. So that's kind of like a short-term Band-Aid, but we obviously want to work on it.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is just being mindful and intentional now when you go into leg days to include these things, but also too, to make sure you like have the right volume and you set yourself up by priming your legs ahead of time, like Sal was saying with those isometrics, and and then you can add the sled to like almost every workout at the very end just to build volume.
Yeah. When you squat, how's your stance? Is it wide or narrow, or is it it's kind of in the middle?
It's borderline wide, but toes are turned out slightly, and that's another thing is I'm wondering how much my ankle stability is causing issues, because if I do push, I say I can squat 400 plus, but if I know that if I push 315 or more, like I try not to, because I have such knee valgus that if I'm not super conscious of keeping my knees out, my ankles want to roll in and my knees cave, and I can get it up, but it's not optimal.
So here's so this might help you. So if you picture your kneecap, if you were to peel your kneecap off, the cartilage underneath, and for lack of a better term, kind of comes down with like almost a little fin that fits in a groove along the femur. So when you're moving, the kneecap is moving in and out of this groove. Okay, yeah. If it's being pulled hard to one side or another because of stability issues or mobility issues, typically in the ankle, the foot, or the hip, then it's grinding in one direction or the other. It's not sliding nicely. And that grinding over time with load
damages the tissue.
It damages the cartilage underneath. So when you correct it, and then it should be able to heal over time, unless there's some underlying issue.
I love the idea of running BPC 157 with all the stuff that we just gave. Yeah, I think you'll notice a big difference from that.
Yep.
I think the combination of that that peptide with all the kind of mobility, warming up, the training recommendations, I think you should see a massive improvement.
Yep.
Great.
Cool. Awesome.
Hey, I got one more thing for you, Sal.
What do you got?
Dude, so I ran into you guys about 5 years ago, and in the process, my wife and I just got out of college, just starting, to make some income and everything. And then we had twins and we had triplets in 2 years.
You had 5 kids in 2 years?
Man.
We had 5 babies, bro.
Holy shit.
And, wow.
Yeah. So during the time I'm hearing you talk about my bad sleep, Aurelius is keeping me up. And I'm like, dude, I've slept like one day this week. It's terrible.
It's wild. God bless you, man. That is rough.
Wow, bro.
That is rough.
Wow. It's still rough.
Wow. I imagine you're not trying for any more.
Yeah.
No, I had that fixed before the triplets were even born. So.
Wow, dude. Good for you. So boys, girls, what do you got?
The twins were boy, girl, and then the triplets were 2 girls and a boy. So.
Oh my God, what a nice mix.
Well, that's awesome. That's
it's awesome, dude.
Bryce,
are you? I wish we had a little more help though. But
I bet
you're gonna be a very proud grandfather one day.
Hey, Bryce, are you in our private forum yet?
No, I'm not.
I'm going to have Doug put you in there. And then as you're going through this process, working on everything, keep us posted. If you post, like, probably the most popular thing people do in there is actually post like their videos of them squatting, deadlifting, and we can kind of critique. That always, I mean, we sat here and speculated. I think we got a pretty good idea what's going on. But the more we can see the movement, the better we can even prescribe and help. And then we got people like our good friends, Jordan Shallow and Dr. Brink are in there, which are movement specialists. So it's a great community. So we'll get you in there.
Yeah, I would love it, brother. Thank you guys so much. Keep doing what you're doing.
All right, Bryce.
Thank you.
We'll see you in the forum.
Bye, guys.
See you.
Awesome. I remember I had one client specifically with this issue who actually came to me, was a doctor, and said to me specifically, I have patellar chondromalacia. I cannot squat below this depth. I can't do lunges. It's impossible. And so, I pulled up the anatomy knee. They were a doctor. So we looked at it. It was very easy. And I said, look, this is typically what happens. I think if we can fix the way it tracks through loosening areas that are tight, strengthening and stabilizing, we should be able to see some improvements. And a year later, this woman who could squat barely 45 degrees was going down to 90-degree squats and doing walking lunges with no pain.
How did that go over, telling a doctor that you think you...
Because I brought up the anatomy and talked about how the kneecap moves and how the muscles affect the way it tracks.
Yeah.
Because her specialty wasn't, she wasn't an osteopath. She was a general surgeon.
Yeah.
So she was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And I said, we'll go slow and we'll take it and we'll see how it works. And I built trust and we did. And a year later, man, she was able to do all these other things because if it's still tracking terribly with load, it's not going to heal.
Unless it's like some acute impact.
Yes.
That damaged it somehow. But yeah, that's usually the case is just like these other surrounding muscles are like overly active and it's pulling it out of track.
So three things you're doing, because we listed a bunch of stuff from you. If you have only 3 things you're doing, including any sort of supplementation or some of that, what are the 3 things
I would
doing?
use BPC, but then I would do correctional exercise specifically to improve the way the kneecap is tracking. And that could look like lateral stability work. Could
These
look
are all
like
things
ankle
we
work.
would do. We're not prescribing this to him.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying that. What would you do? What are the things that you would do personally? You have this issue. What are the 3 things you would do?
Yes, that's it. I would look at my lateral stability. I would look at
to explore
ankle mobility. I would look on loosening the quads and the IT band, and I would use BPC.
Yeah,
for sure.
I would work 90-90s and work on internal, external rotation and make sure I'm like nice and stable and on track.
Our next caller is Bree from Pennsylvania.
Hi, Bree. How can we help you?
Hi, guys. Thanks so much for having me on here. I've been listening to the show for years, and I knew when I had a question, this would be the place to go to.
Awesome.
All right.
What you got for us?
Okay, so my question, high level, is how do you get started on your journey of finding and working with a functional medicine practitioner? I'm trying to figure out the best way to narrow down what services I would need from a practitioner so that I can figure out how to locate someone with that expertise who's reputable. It's just like anything else in the health industry where there's so much out there that it's hard to know what direction to go first. And then once you locate someone, what's the best way to approach things with them? If your goal is first to learn about what's going on with your health so you can see what areas need work and improvement. I know preventative care is becoming more common, but it still feels a little abnormal to approach a doctor and say, let's test first and see what we find instead of going in with a specific ailment or knowing what you want treated. I'll give you a little background to round out the question. I enjoy being active and I've worked out using various modalities my entire life, but these days I am sitting a lot since I work a desk job, and I would say I don't have any glaring health problems, but I know that I'm not living at my peak health, and I do have some minor health issues that I think could be corrected if I optimize my practices. I note a few things like inflammation, bloating, or poor circulation, and I think about the fact that maybe I'm just 1 or 2 small changes away from not having those issues. So I've always been a person that tends to stay away from a doctor's office. If anything does come up, I would always prefer a treatment plan that doesn't include drugs or pharmaceuticals. I really prefer not to do anything with medications. So when I started hearing about functional medicine, it started to pique my interest because it seems like a way that you could improve your health, but the doctors don't have that built-in mindset of prescribing the medications. I'm really new to this idea, but I think it's really cool that there's potential that I don't have to worry about these problems that I've grown accustomed to living with. And I'd like to imagine that fixing that one small issue will snowball into fixing the next and so on. It's just a little overwhelming trying to figure out where to start with it all.
We got you covered. We actually have a private forum specifically for someone just like you. This is the holistic, so Mind Pump Holistic forum that we have.
So that's MP Holistic Health on Facebook, right, Doug? Is that the name of it?
And that's Dr. Cabral and his team, and that's exactly what he does is certify coaches and trainers in functional medicine. And so between the help that he can give you directly there, because you can actually hire him remotely, and you guys
and his team,
and you can actually meet with them, and we know they're an incredible source. If for some reason you really want somebody in person, which that's fine, he's probably going to be a great person, or their team's a great person to ask where you're located. There's probably somebody nearby that is connected to him, and I think he'd be a great person to ask for a referral.
The way it looks like, this is how it looks. And functional medicine is an excellent field, and of course, there's good ones. There's some that are better than others, just like there's some trainers that are better than others, and doctors and plumbers and all that stuff. But the way it'll typically look is you're going to go in and you're going to start by having a conversation, and they're going to ask you questions, and you're going to let them know what your struggles are, symptoms you may be feeling. They'll know what questions to ask you specifically. And then that's going to point them to a series of tests. Through that testing, they'll be able to identify what the treatment is going to look like. Now, functional medicine takes a very holistic approach. So the treatment would range from a combination of potentially pharmaceuticals, but it's typically herbal, supplements, lifestyle, and in that range, exercise in that range. So once they do the testing, they'll say, okay, we did your gut testing. It looks like we saw these overgrowth of these bacteria, or it looks like you have some high levels of these heavy metals or mold, or your detox pathways seem to need some help or assistance, or your hormones seem to be in this particular state. So it looks like we need to go through a protocol to reduce stress and help your body rebalance itself, type of deal. And so that's where they'll start. They'll start with testing and then take it from there. And then it's functional medicine because they don't just look at making the symptom go away. They look at, okay, what's the root cause? Yeah. What's the root cause of this, and how can we work with that? So, but they can also work with pharmaceuticals. So you don't want to rule that out, right? So if you have if they identify, like an easy one would be like a parasite. Well, some parasites, herbals will take you 6 months to a year to get rid of, if they're effective at all. Whereas pharmaceuticals have been around, some of them for 50 years. You take it once and then the parasite's gone. So they would work through a combination of things.
The nice part, though, about a functional medicine practitioner is that's not going to be their first go-to. They're always going to go the holistic path is what they're going to lean on first. And then it's like that if it requires something like that.
So they're just going to try to get all the data points from your environment, from what you've been eating, what kind of inflammation is in your body currently, just like regular things. I think it's a good investment for anybody to go through that process of testing, and just so you can acquire that kind of information. So you can even bring that in with you to your general practitioner. But to be able to get sort of a good idea of what may be contributing to symptoms that you may be experiencing, I think it's always great to just start with the holistic side and then kind of go into the pharmaceutical.
Yeah, I love your attitude of doing this right now. I mean, I agree. I think that everybody should do this. We always wait until we're sick and we have all these issues, and then we try and unpack it and figure it out, and then we go everywhere. It's like
also what's going well, right?
Yeah. I think it's an incredible thing for you to go do, and they'll probably do like a full panel on you too, so they could just see everything. But go through the forums. The
forum's free. Go on there and ask questions, and then they can help direct you in which direction to go. And then you could hire someone from their team, and we've vouched they're good. We know they're good. That's why we work with them.
Bree, did you know we had that? Did you know we had that?
Yeah, I've heard you discuss it on the show before, and I have listened to some of the programs. I've listened to so many, but I've listened to some that address the more holistic, the hormonal, the peptides, that kind of stuff. It just feels like so much to just start out that way, listening to everything.
Yeah, you can't diagnose yourself, Bree, and nobody could diagnose you either without testing anyway. So many symptoms could come from so many different places that only testing will let them know.
Yeah, and they manifest different in every person.
So yeah, but that's it. It's not that. It's really not that that crazy of a process. But you got to start it by working with one of them.
Awesome. Yeah, I just want to get started, and then I'm sure once the ball's rolling, it'll be much smoother.
Yeah, they'll take care of you. They're
Yeah, they
excellent.
will. Go in there and introduce yourself in the forum, and then they'll have somebody that'll take care of you right away.
Awesome. Thank you.
You got it, Brady. Thanks
All
for
right,
calling
Brady.
in. This is getting more. I was aware of functional medicine.
Seems like it's
18
getting more popular.
Well,
Way more.
Listen, I'm telling you guys, you guys had to be 17, 18 years ago. And I remember talking about functional medicine, and, you know, eight out of 10 of my clients rolled their eyes or so that, you know, like they put it like in with homeopathy or, you know, whatever.
Yeah, right.
I remember talking about leaky gut syndrome and adrenal fatigue, which now they call, you know, HTPA axis dysfunction. I remember the doctors that I trained would go, leaky gut, it's a made up whatever, and now it's accepted. It's all very
Preventative
accepted.
medicine is the future. 100%.
Has to be.
Exactly. That's why. It's not like a question.
There is no other
problems.
answer.
It's not a
chronic.
question if it's going to be or not. It's literally a matter of time before everybody has to go this route because the direction that we're going. We have to get to the
Our
bottom.
environment's changed. Yeah, we got to stay ahead of it.
Yeah.
Our next caller is Brad from Idaho.
Brad, you don't strike me as a guy that's into Mickey Mouse backpacks.
Well, you know, when you got a wife that seems to think they're a lot of fun, you ought to see the basement. I've probably got 60 more of them down there.
Oh my God. Oh my
Wow.
God. That's great.
How can we help you, man?
Collection.
Well, I just want to thank you first off for taking my call and all you guys do. It's real inspiring. Even though I'm way older than you guys, it is inspiring.
Appreciate it.
Thank you,
So
man.
I'll just kind of get to it. I'll try to cut some of it out. I didn't realize how long the letter was when I wrote it. So I'm 58 years old. I used to play a lot of sports back in the day, of course. Last 15 years or so, I put on a lot of pounds, and my work's been a little more sedentary, so it's made it a little bit harder to keep up my, the motivation. I had a lung capacity test to work, and it come back with it was quite lower than the one I had 2 years before. So back in February 23, I decided I was going to hit the gym a lot more and try to get that taken care of and get in better shape and drop some pounds. I've been real consistent, 4 days a week, at least, a lot of times 6 days a week. Just kind of depends on how the weekends fell. So my normal day, Monday through Thursday, I start about 3 a.m., get up, get to the gym by 4. I get a solid hour in there, then heading to work, 10-hour day, an hour commute home. You know how it is, 6 o'clock getting home. I'm sure you guys can relate. I don't have the traffic you have, thank goodness, though. So I eat, study, still working on a bachelor's online, so that takes up my night, bed by 10. I don't really get there much sooner than that. So from what you guys can see, it's probably sleep, diet, my biggest issues there. I'd like to lose 80 to 100 pounds, somewhere in that range. I'm 6'3", so if I can be around 220, I'd be happy. A little bit less, it'd even be better. Looking at my BMI, that's a joke. I couldn't imagine being 160 pounds. But I would like to be able to hike, like we do a lot of hiking and stuff. And so I'd like to do that without to take a break every 5 minutes to try to learn to breathe and get my legs going again. So my gym workouts that I'm doing now, I'll cut a lot of that out, but I do a lot of push, pull, and then legs. So I'll do 3 sets, 10 to 12 reps, and I kind of superset that. So I'll do 2 at a time, and then I'll take a little break and then do, 3 sets of those. And I'm doing 6 to 8 lifts depending on my time. And then whatever I've got left in my hour or hour and whatever it is, I just do cardio on the treadmill. I do a lot of incline as much as I can get in. And then on the 4th day, I just do cardio. And then my weekends, Friday, Saturday, we just do a varied thing depending on how the weather is and whether we go to the gym or what we do. Lifts, we do a lot of sled pushes, pulls, that kind of stuff. So my question after all that is I obviously need a better structured workout plan. From what listening to you guys, it seemed like structure's a lot of it. I just lost the same 6 pounds back and forth. They keep finding it, and then I lose it, then I find it. So I got a heart rate monitor last fall, been using that ever since, and that's really showed a lot of stamina growth and I have gained a lot of strength, but I just haven't lost much weight. So my question is, what kind of workouts do I need to purchase to get this under control, and what I can do to help my diet plans?
There's one issue here that's contributing to all the others. And if we can tackle this one issue, all the other ones are going to improve quite a bit. So I just want to clarify. You go to bed at 10, you wake up at 3?
Correct.
Okay, so your sleep, if you don't get more sleep, it don't matter what you do with your workouts or your diet. Nothing's going to help. You're chronically underslept. Even if you fell asleep at 10, which you don't, you hit the sack at 10, you probably fall asleep at 10:30. But even if you fell asleep at 10, you're way underslept.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, is it possible to go to bed earlier, and is it possible to wake up later? Is that a possibility?
Yeah. I mean, I can always cut, short and get to bed earlier. Waking up later, I'd have to push my workouts maybe to the weekend. I was thinking about that.
Yeah.
Instead of working out during the week, change it, working out on the weekend more and getting that extra hour sleep during the week.
The workout part is actually going to be the easiest part for us, to Sal's point. Like, I actually think MAPS 15 is a better program for you 100%. Considering the level of stress and stuff you got going on and the lack of sleep. You actually don't need an hour of intense training.
Not only do you not need it, that's going to go back.
Yeah, it's working against you with everything you got going on.
If you could go to bed at 9 p.m. and then wake up and do a 15-minute suspension trainer workout in your home, which is what MAPS 15 will provide for you, then you'll be able to sleep in an additional 45 minutes. And so we've added almost 2 hours of sleep. That'll make a profound difference in everything else. It's going to affect your cravings. It's going to affect your recovery. You're going to build more muscle. Your body will lose more body fat. I mean, there's studies on this that are really remarkable where they'll take people, put them in the same calorie deficit, and the group that has bad sleep will lose twice as much muscle and half as much body fat just from that alone. So I would, if you could go to bed at 9 and wake up at 4, that's still not ideal, but that's a lot better than what you're currently doing.
Workouts are really just to accompany the recovery. The recovery is where everything is going to happen for you in terms of like your ability to build up muscle and like improve your metabolism. So yeah, just having these smaller workouts, even if you could do a different time during the day for 15 minutes to devote to just like the suspension trainer or something in that regard, it's going to move mountains for you.
What's the latest you could wake up in the morning to get to work on time, do you think?
I could probably do 4:30.
Okay.
Be out of the house by 5.
All right. Here's what I would love. And if you could do this, this would, I think, would be ideal. If you could go to bed at 9, wake up at 4:30, and then throughout the day, find 15 minutes to do your workout with the suspension train, which you can hang in any door frame. So, and it's literally a 15-minute workout. You will notice significant improvements in your health, and your body will respond. Because right now, what you're doing is you're spinning your wheels. You're spinning your wheels in the dirt. You're doing a lot of work. You're sleep deprived. You're fighting your body. Your body's going to win. You're not going to be able to push your body in a direction it doesn't want to go. And right now, it's holding on to everything because of the chronic lack of sleep. So you'll notice significant improvements across the board. It'll feel like, here's what's going to feel like. Man, I'm doing way less work, and my body's all of a sudden moving in the right direction. This is weird. It's going to feel strange, weird. Yeah, it's going to feel strange.
I kind of have heard you guys talk about that before. That's what was kind of bringing all this to light for me.
Yeah, and you'll notice within a week or two, like if you do this within a week or two, you're going to be like, oh, wow, I feel way better. But you got to be consistent. You got to do it every single night. Make sure you get in bed at 9, really prioritize it, wake up at 4:30, and then find that 15 minutes throughout the day sometime to do your workout. I think that would be, I mean, if you were my client, I wouldn't push anything else.
You have to recognize that it's very obvious to me, or I'm sure the guys too, that you have a very go-getter type of personality. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that is not the approach you need to be doing right now with your training, and which is going to be tough, right? You have to wrestle that. I see you're wearing our buddy Andy Versella's First Form shirt. Have you attempted to do the 75 hard too?
No, I haven't.
Okay,
Just
thank
because
God.
of the
Okay.
time thing.
Okay.
No, don't
I would
do
love
it.
to. I'm
No, don't.
dying to, but
No, don't.
I'm dying to, but I haven't done it.
I bet. That's why I
Yeah.
asked, because I was like, I bet he would lean towards wanting to do something like that. And this is just an example of a client that we would definitely not want to do that, because we've got to get it. We got to get a hold of all the stress and the lack of sleep that you got going on. And even if you don't, I use stress in a way that I think sometimes people are like, well, no, I'm fine. I'm happy. I got a good thing. I have Mickey Mouse backpacks. Everything's going good in my life. But the lack of sleep, the
That'll
exercise,
stress your body
the
like nothing else.
the studying for school, the working 10 hours. That's all stress on your body. And to only give it a little bit of sleep like that, and then also push it in the gym, it's just you're putting in way more effort and work than you should be doing, and you'll get more by actually doing less and focusing on the sleep.
To put it differently, Brad, there's nothing we could do with diet and exercise that'll help you until you fix the sleep issue. Yeah. There's literally nothing you can do on those two directions that are going to make a big difference. But if you fix the sleep issue, oh my gosh, all of a sudden the pieces will start to fall into place. Everything will start working.
We're going to send over MAPS 15. Okay. So you have that. So you'll have access to that.
Oh,
I believe
awesome.
Doug can
Thank
also
you.
send. So if you probably don't have the suspension trainer, I'll have him send a half off coupon on that. So it's only like $50 for that thing. So
Nice.
So we'll send that all over to you. And then I'd also like to put you in are you on Facebook? Can I get you in the private forum?
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm on there. Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm going to have Doug also give you access to the private forum for free too. So then we can talk to you as you go through this, because I know you got a lot going on. And so just reach out to us, keep us posted like on a monthly basis. Let us know how it's going. If you're having any challenges, let the guys and I kind of coach you through this process to get you right.
Man, that'd be great.
All right, Brad, we got you, man.
Easy answer. It was an easy answer. It's going to make a huge difference.
Yeah.
Sounds great. I really appreciate the help. It's just nice to hear it to me instead of just me guessing.
Yeah.
That was the issue.
That's it. You were right.
Yeah, we got you, Brad. We'll see you in the forum, buddy.
All right. Thanks. I appreciate it, man.
Thank
All
you.
right.
I mean, okay.
That's a lot, bro.
That's 5 hours of sleep a night.
I know, that's brutal.
That has been shown in studies in as little as a week or two to affect brain structure, hormones, it dramatically increased heart disease and cancer risk. Like he's in that 5 hours of sleep a night will destroy you. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It'll destroy you. You could be on the peptides, hormones, and everything you want. It won't do anything for you. So unless he fixes that, like nothing else is going to work. I can't give him a workout that'll help with that kind of a sleep schedule. Well, but if he fixes a sleep schedule, oh my gosh.
I keep reminding myself of that study you brought up about, the chances of injury when you're in that like sleep deprived state, like
huge
increase. Yeah. Like substantially. So there's just a lot of factors against you. Really, that's the core. You like get your sleep, get your recovery, and then let's do the work.
I'm so glad he called. And that's why I want him in the forum, because I want to be able to stay with him on this. Because again, like most people, the hardest part is going to be the mental part, right?
Yeah.
He obviously has, the guy works 10-hour days.
It's going to feel weird to him because his body's going to respond. He's like, what's going on?
He's a hard worker.
Working on his degree. Yeah. So you take that type of a personality and say, hey, I need you to do way less. I need you to sleep in. It's like, that's going to be the hardest part. And then also,
a wuss if you do that.
Right. And then also that this is like, we have to first get all that, recover. It's not like tomorrow he's also going to see this weight fall off because we told him to do that. So he's going to have to like stay with this, be consistent.
He'll feel better though very quickly.
He should. He should feel better right away.
Next caller is Drew from Ireland.
What's up, Drew?
What's going on, man?
What's happening?
Hi. Wow, this is amazing. Thank you for taking the time to speak to me. And I've waited a long time to ask this question, and it might be kind of ironic for you guys, but I wanted to give a little shout out to your episode with Jennifer Cohen and her 10 attempt rule. If I hadn't heard that concept from her on your podcast, I would have actually given up on my attempt for a live question with you guys. Today.
That's great.
Awesome.
That's great.
How can we help you?
Yeah. So, anyways, I have two questions, but I'll start a bit with my background and to give a bit of context. Is that all right?
Yep. Sure.
Okay. So my name's Drew, and as of last week, I just finished up medical school in Ireland. My fitness background is involving, martial arts, sports, and then at 18, I started weightlifting. And in 2017, so it was about 7 years ago, I found my own pump, and my love for weightlifting grew. the podcast actually prompted me to become a personal trainer at my university gym. And then through your programs, Map Starter, Prime Pro, I saw amazing results that exercise brought to my clients of all ages. I specifically noticed a big difference in seniors, and that, exercise is medicine. Fast forward to medical school in Ireland. I appreciate that, doctors have to learn a lot, but I noticed there was no physical activity education in the curriculum. So therefore, my research team and I did a study on the knowledge and confidence of physical activity prescription in recent Irish medical graduates across the country. Our published findings showed that there was little to no teaching on physical activity, and that doctors actually wanted additional teaching. So we are now trialing a mini module on exercise prescription for doctors. Just to put a disclaimer that this study doesn't reflect every medical school in the world, and my school was actually receptive, and they added exercise education to the curriculum.
That's cool.
Nice.
Very cool.
So I have two questions. My first question is, what exercise related care would you like to see from general physicians? So that involves maybe using a BIA machine instead of a regular weight scale to track progress, grip test for strength, how to use your famous quotes, love the journey, do the least to elicit the most amount of change, or eat more to lose more. Should I move on to the second one, or you want to answer the first?
No. Yeah, let's start with the first one. So we have to paint the context first before we can kind of discuss what would be the best, I think, approach. First off, I think it's exceptional that someone like yourself, who's going to be a doctor, really understands the value of exercise, not just from the studies show perspective, but you actually did it with clients, and you understand strength training. And there is we're at the beginning of a massive movement towards really understanding the value of strength training. And that's probably going to be the front line prescriptive form of exercise for most people for longevity, for just many, many different reasons. Now, the context, and here's the challenge. As a physician, you don't coach your patients. In other words, you meet with them, you do testing, you diagnose, you prescribe, and then you don't see them again for however long, a month, 2 months, or whatever the follow-up looks like. But you're not there coaching them through the process. Exercise and diet are lifestyle, and they're behavior-based. They're not prescriptive-based. Otherwise, it'd be very easy. Someone could go on Google, get a prescription for a diet, follow a meal plan. Here's my workout, follow it. No problem. So I think your best bet, first off, you mentioned a few diagnostic tests that I think would be exceptional. I do think body fat testing it should be used along with a scale, because then you can look at lean body mass and fat mass, and that'll give you a better kind of picture, especially as you're tracking somebody through their different appointments. Oh, your weight went up. Oh, it actually looks like your fat mass went down, your lean body mass went up. Or your weight went down. However, it looks like you lost lean body mass. So that's not necessarily a good thing. So just give you a better picture. I love the grip strength test, and you can get just some good general ideas of what is considered good, weak, strong, or just look at the trends of your patients, before, during illness, after illness, as they age. You can see, strength is going down or up. And grip strength is valuable mainly because it's easy to test and it's a proxy for whole body strength. So there's really nothing specific about the grip. It's just a good proxy. And if it goes down, it means you're probably getting weaker overall. And I'm sure you're very familiar with this, but the grip strength tests by themselves are incredible predictors of all-cause mortality in comparison. Now, you combine it with all the other tests that you do, blood pressure, lipids, all stuff, you're going to get a really, really good full picture. But here's where I think the value is going to be. This is where I think the magic's going to be. If physicians can partner with really good exercise specialists, this is where the magic's going to be, because you don't have the time to be a doctor and coach a bunch of people. I mean, maybe you can construct a business around that or whatever, but I have yet to find, I don't see that happening mainstream. What I do see is, and I did this towards the end of my career, is I worked with physicians like you. They would send me their patients. They would let me know, of course, with the patient's permission, here's what's going on, here's what we need to work on. And then I would do the exercise portion, and I would do the coaching, and I was the one that saw them, every week, 2 or 3 days a week. Then they'd see the doctor 6 months later. I'd get a report and the doctor would be like, wow, phenomenal. You're moving in the right direction. Here's what's going on. Or we're going to try this new medication, maybe keep their heart rate down because they're on a beta blocker or whatever. So that's where I think the value is going to be, is in physicians partnering with really, really good exercise specialists and working together. And then you as a physician can tell the patient, look, here's the deal. I think that the most impactful thing we can do, it's going to help keep you off medications, going to give you the biggest bang for your buck, is if you exercise appropriately and properly. I know somebody I can send you to who I really trust.
Here's this great podcast.
And then yes, of course, you can direct them to our podcast as well. But that's what I would do. But just the fact that you train people and you know this, you're already going to be able to communicate to this so well, like so exceptionally well. But look, I'm sure you already know this by your colleagues, and you're going to figure this out anyway. The hardest thing that you're going to have to deal with is getting them to follow through with your advice. I mean, it's going to be hard enough to get you to take their pills.
Just stressing that it's imperative they look at strength training and have an actual plan for that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to do so much more than what we currently have alone. So for you to just point people in the right direction, I think that's a humongous first
And then
step.
you can get reports from the trainer.
The cool part though is if you're the physician and you start doing and implementing this stuff, you'll also have the data of the ones that actually follow through and don't, and then that's a selling point to the ones that don't. Right, or that when they come in, it's like, hey, look at my patients that follow X, Y, and
track
Z.
record here.
Yeah, look what happens with blood pressure. Look what happens with cholesterol. Look what happens with lean body mass. Look what's overall health. Like, you're going to be able to have that, and that's going to be very powerful. It's going to take time to build some of that, but boy, that's going to be super powerful and cool. And then, of course, you have us here. I would love to support in any way that we can as you build this out and you start doing this.
Yeah, but really partnering with good exercise coaches is going to be would be game changer. Anybody who takes advantage of that. Because now they can get coached on a weekly basis, and you won't see them for another 3 months. You could check back in, or you could just check in with the coach. Hey, how's it going with Mrs. So-and-so? But that's the way to do it.
Well, you know, too, like we just started a whole like business around coaches and like really trying to equip them with that kind of information. I think it'd be a valuable thing to bring, somebody like yourself who's going through their own kind of experiment with this to see, because they're troubleshooting using our MAPS programs with their clients as well. And so, to kind of peer into that, I think would be a really good advantage for you to see, like in these case scenarios, this is the type of trainer I would kind of set you up with, and this is kind of the programming that we would look at.
Drew, is the medical system out there in Ireland, that's state sponsored, right? That's covered by the state?
Yeah, they actually have a dual program where you can go private or public.
Okay. Yeah, because what I'm talking about would probably have to go private, but or you could just partner with people you could refer to. But I think there's such a huge need for what I'm talking about. And you'll probably tap into the higher end client at first, just because they have expendable income. But you can, once you show the model, once
he has the data.
The system's breaking. Across every Western nation, these systems are breaking because we can't medicate people out of this anymore. This has to be some lifestyle change,
Yeah. Just moving on to my second question, it kind of ties in to what you were saying. Ultimately, I know about the coaching course, and I would love to have you guys standardize across the world if that was possible. But would you be interested in doing a full podcast on this topic, maybe like how to be a mind pump doctor, or creating a forum specific for healthcare professionals to link with personal trainers, or ask questions about patients, clients, or even, I know I've actually referred you guys to a lot of patients in my clinical rotations, and maybe an episode referral or exercise program referrals.
Yeah,
I do see, and maybe this is something we'll talk off air of how we wrap our brain around this, but I do see tremendous value with having doctors like yourself in our trainer coaching forum, right? Because one, you add value, right? So now they have a resource to ask questions that maybe they can't get to the bottom of because you're in there. And then now you have a resource of trainers that have been certified by us that are going out there and helping people. And so maybe what we do is we make like
put you in there.
Yeah, we put specific people that are actual doctors that are wanting to collaborate and work with each other. We'll just put you in there for free. I don't see why that wouldn't why we wouldn't do something.
Yeah,
like
let's
that.
do that. And then the program that would probably be most appropriate for your patients would be Starter. MAP Starter.
Yeah,
across the board. Yeah,
that'd be appropriate for most people, I would say.
That and Prime Pro, I think he's going to get a lot of
program was
value.
amazing just in my personal training. So I would love to do that for, patients as well.
Yeah. And you would be surprised at how little a sedentary person needs to do to gain benefit. I mean, when I would get patients from some of these doctors, and they come to me in really bad shape, right? Really bad health. Some of them were like, we're doing one exercise every day. That's it. 3 sets of this on Monday, 3 sets of this on Tuesday. And then, we do it 4 or 5 days a week. And I mean, it was remarkable at the improvement that we would see in their health. And the doctors that I trained, after I did this a few times, they could say, okay, this is predictable. But for the first couple, they were all like, I didn't expect to see people improve so much.
Drew, I tell you what, I don't know if we're going to do this for everybody, but since you've asked the question and I think you would add great value to the forum, I'll have Doug put you in that trainer forum now. So I'll get you access in there so you can already introduce yourself and start networking and providing value and then collaborating with any of the trainers in there, because I think that's not a bad idea. So we'll start with you. We'll see if we stick with it and do it with other doctors or not. But I like
building
that.
a network. I like it.
Totally.
I like that.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, because you have an international kind of impact. So I'm sure even if I work in Ireland and I need to, send someone to a personal trainer, maybe there's someone who's taking your course there and I can refer them there.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, we'll get you in there.
Okay, great. Those are my 2 questions, but I also want to do a big thank you, if that's okay,
Sure.
I've been listening to Mind Pump for 7 years now, and the first 3 years I listened from a personal trainer perspective, and the last 4 years I listened from a medical perspective. And it's known that doctors save lives, but indirectly so does Mind Pump. Thank you for enhancing, primary care and preventative care for us. I have several stories that I think you'd appreciate where I took lessons directly from your podcast and helped patients in the community during the electives. One example was even just creatine for cognition. Now, I didn't even learn about that in school, and I heard it from you guys. The concept of a muscle mommy and being strong in pregnancy and stuff, those things are actually very valuable, and I really appreciate your podcast on that. You guys are an exceptional source of information. You're not just known for fitness, but you're a holistic resource that actually covers key topics in medicine that I think so many doctors can benefit from.
Bro,
What a great compliment.
Thank you.
Man. Thank you.
It's so hopeful to see a young doctor like yourself because you guys do a phenomenal job, and I feel like the direction is starting to move in the right direction.
It's people like you that are going to change that space, man.
Appreciate it, man.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
You got it.
All right.
Well, now that my ego feels
yeah,
no,
that's a
that
nice
was really nice.
Yeah, super nice.
And I know a lot of times we talk a little bit like defeatist or whatever, but the truth is the medical space, it's a big ship. It takes a long time to turn, but it's moving in the right direction. You're hearing more and more people like him talk. I'm getting more doctors who are talking about strength training, more doctors talking about protein intake. He mentioned creatine. Creatine is a longevity supplement that now is getting recommended to people who don't even work out just to improve their general health. And I brought that up because he did.
I'm always team human, bro. I think that, we tend to swing really hard one way and then come back the other way. And I believe that we're at a very crucial time in our existence, health-wise. And I think that it's people like him that are gonna move the needle, dude.
Totally.
And it's gonna take a lot more, but we are moving the right direction, and it's gonna come back the other way.
Totally. Look, we have a free guide that can teach you everything you need to know about how to squat like a pro, mobility, strength, exercise, programming. It's a free guide, costs nothing. mindpumpfree.com. You can also find us on Instagram. Justin is at mindpumpjustin. I'm at mindpumpdestefano, and Adam is at mindpumpadam.